Hey, good afternoon, brothers and sisters of the ERC. First of all, I want to say thank you for the warm welcome to this next season of ministry. I greatly appreciate all of you and how you've endured and been creative here in the last few years. It is comforting that we can look to Jesus as the author and the perfecter of our faith and know that we are in this together. I do think it's so amazing that Jesus calls us to relationships where he's seen and he's shared in ways that transform the trajectory of human existence. He really is the only reason any of us can accomplish anything, and we can do nothing apart from him. It's that truth that's embedded in my heart as I step into this new role, and it's also an expectation that we will see his plans unfold. Now, I recognize many of you may know me in name only, and I'm not really good at talking about my own accomplishments, so I'm going to hit some of the highlights, and the rest will be in my bio on the conference webpage. I really want to take most of this time to share with you what God has done and how he called me into this role so that you can appreciate the journey. So first of all, the highlights. You need to know I'm passionate about helping people know God's word, discover their design, and accomplish their calling. I'm from Hummelstown, Pennsylvania. I gave my life to Jesus in '92 through the ministry at Caring Community Church. I went to Weinbrenner. I met Bill Shoemaker and helped him start Cross Point Church in Findlay. Then they sent my wife and I across town to plant the Catalyst Church. And we led there for 11 years. We developed leaders for ministries, established the elder team, cultivated a teaching team, and served on the Great Lakes Conference Pastoral Leadership Commission. But most importantly, we established a place where broken and hurting people were able to belong, be renewed, and sent out to pursue their calling. I also became a marketplace minister, which is a fancy term to basically mean I took a second job to ensure that the new congregation could focus on ministry more than salary and expenses. 16 years in the marketplace, however, have brought valuable lessons from leaders in the U.S. and abroad. I've had the opportunity to consult and coach managers on staffing their teams from entry level to senior leadership, and I've recruited people for roles from skilled trades to corporate leaders. And I've trained and coached team members in the U.S., China, India, and Singapore. The last several years, I've been serving in the Multiplication Commission and the ERC Ad Council. And you need to know I have loved working with passionate Jesus followers through the expansion of the ERC, navigating changes in our strategy, and then discerning God's leading to discover, develop, and deploy disciple makers as Jesus commanded. Which of course brings me up to this past year. God has renewed our focus on discipleship, and we discovered that we had to retool and reorganize ourselves, because developing leaders and planting churches are each one slice of a much larger mission designed to cultivate God's kingdom. A kingdom where Ephesians 2:10 and 2 Timothy 2:2 saturate the culture, and the gates of hell cannot withstand the invasion of Jesus followers into its territory. When the role of Director of Discipleship was created, I was asked to review the job description for the role because of my experience in human resources. I was also asked to be part of the selection team to conduct interviews. I was really good with that plan, but God had other plans. I was asked to apply, and when I was asked to apply, I insisted on being just part of the selection team and not being considered. I was then challenged to pray and fast for 3 days. Okay, fine. So I did. Day 1, nothing. Day 2, nothing. The end of the third day would be Friday morning, July 2nd. When I went to bed Thursday night, not hearing anything, I was really looking forward to a nice breakfast and informing the selection team that I would be joining the team in evaluating candidates. At 4 a.m., God woke me out of a sound sleep that I was enjoying and downloaded 3 significant examples that I needed to take a look at. The first was how we celebrate human accomplishments and we ignore the Creator who made us and gave us our abilities. The second example was Jesus and the fig tree that he cursed. The tree was not living according to its design, and Jesus knew it. The fig tree was a picture of Israel in Jesus' day, and I knew that this was a caution for the church today. Then God turned the example toward me and simply said, "You were designed to help people take their next steps." By then it was 6 a.m. I was wide awake, and I knew he was calling me to obey my design and lean into it fully dependent upon him. So I submitted my application. 4 months later, I was offered the role, and you need to know a lot happened in between there. But through all of it, God was speaking to Allison and I about his plans. My work in the marketplace was continuing to be blessed greatly, and the Multiplication Commission was continuing to have a lot of things fall into place. So when I was offered the role, I didn't want to accept right away. I wanted some time to pray, because even with all that God was showing me, I needed to be sure it was him, that this was what he prepared in advance for me to do. This wasn't about fleeces or signs or testing God or anything like that. It was the importance of this role and the knowledge that I can do nothing apart from Jesus. That needed to be settled with the knowledge that in him we can do all things, and in him all things hold together. So I worked through that process, and shortly after that, the Multiplication Commission had an in-person meeting. The devotional for that meeting was about experiencing God. We talked through the stages, how he speaks, how there's a crisis of faith, then we have to adjust, and then we experience his presence, and we join him in his work. Needless to say, in that moment, I realized God was double underlining and highlighting his invitation to me. So I called my best friend, and I was trying to process this with him, and I said, look, I'm at the point where I feel like if I say no, I'm being disobedient. And he leaned in and said, and what does that tell you? I do recall making a sarcastic remark to him, and then we laughed, but really, I just needed to admit that I needed to say yes. I turned my notice into my employer, and I did it 3 weeks before the end of the year, which, if you know anything about staffing and recruiting, that's the worst time to hire and train somebody. But even that situation, God had taken care of right down to the last detail, and he did it in a way that both my manager and our client could see that he planned it. So I share that to just say, as we go forward together, trusting God to lead us into each next step, I am super excited for what he will do, and I'm convinced that he's going to do exceedingly more than we can imagine. I look forward to spending some time with each of you as he helps us discover, develop, and deploy disciple makers. That is the great co-mission that we have with Jesus. As we cultivate the soil and plant and water, he's going to bring the growth and lead us into a harvest of generations of disciples being raised up. Just like John 4:34-32 says, we'll rejoice together, and he'll get the glory and the honor. So thank you again for the warm welcome. We have some exciting things coming up, some interactive and some practical things coming this spring and throughout the year. I am looking forward to connecting with many of you at conference this year in person. And in the meantime, feel free to email me at nate@erccog.org. That's nate@erccog.org. And until then, we'll see you soon.